So guys, welcome back to another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast with your host, Richard Fu here. And today I have a powerhouse here. I have a superhero. It feels like every time I watch his stuff, he's just phenomenal. I've heard so much about him. His name's Henare. And Henare is really a gifted, intuitive coach. He's a spiritual teacher. And most of all, he helps people break through their mindsets, right? He is on a mission. He's on a mission to help more people reconnect with themselves so that they can then heal the world in a personal and a spiritual journey. And most of all, Henare has actually learned and sought out from the very best people in the world, the biggest thought leaders of today, and he's trained with them. People like Jack Canfield, people like Neil Donald Walsh. And most of all, he's putting together this phenomenal summit, this amazing, game-changing summit, the biggest virtual summit I've ever seen, and it's going to blow your mind. With how many people he has on there, people like T. Harv Eker, D. Martini, and the list just keeps going on and on and on. But I'm not going to say any more here because I feel like I'm taking too much away from the man himself. So guys, I want you to say welcome to Henare O'Brien. Henare, good to have you on.
Thank you, Richard. Love to be with you.
Thank you, man. Pleasure to have you on. So Henare, I mean, for the people who are listening and or watching, could you give us a bit of a rundown, man, of yourself and I guess you, Kate, and what do you guys do?
Thanks, Richard. Firstly, I just want to say, bless you. Thank you for having me on. I am, when I hear you talk, I feel really humbled to be here with you. When people give you these wonderful introductions, part of it is actually being present to actually being available to do this with you, and it's a privilege. So, thank you. Me and Kate, what we do transformational work. So I spent 10 years. Actually, I was playing basketball professionally, and I had all the external things. I had women. I had the most beautiful woman hanging around me. I had money. I was hanging out with celebrities. And I realized when I was 26 that I didn't have anything inside of me that mattered. And so because I was 26, I decided, hey, I don't care about that. I'm going to do more of it. So I did more fun things that I thought was fun during that time. And then at 29, I got it all sort of collapsed in on me, and I started writing in a journal about how do I find myself. And that was, I just turned 40. 40, man. And
so young, man, so young.
Thanks, brother. So I just turned 40. So I spent the last probably 14 years learning to discover. In the last 10 years, just fully running towards my dreams and hopes. And you said before, my goal is to help billions of people reconnecting to themselves. So at the moment, I'm searching out and speaking to the next level of people. I've got 2 billionaires that are helping the world. The stuff that they're doing. Can I just mention this for a while? One guy is actually inventing ways to turn seawater into drinkable water so that people can, around the world, it's amazing. Another guy is looking to put solar power everywhere he can. So another guy is looking to take all the plastic out of the oceans. So the next summit, this year's been all about personal development, but next year I want to include people that are actually doing the groundwork and helping us heal our world. It's really exciting to me. So it started off many years ago, and we come here now. But me, I'm a spiritual teacher, intuitive coach, transformational teacher, and I've spent most of my years researching, developing that, but also living it in my own life so that I can help people from a deep place.
Henare, that's beautiful, man, and I love it. And I love that you put it in that story of your life. And I want to take us through here, man, is that to understand. So you hit that roadblock. You're saying that you woke up at 26 and you're like, you had everything around you. The whole world was there. The whole world was your oyster. But then inside that oyster, there was like no pearl, right?
You're perfect. Love
it. Right. And so how did you realize that you started to actually, you had to go out and find that pearl, right? Or actually create that pearl for yourself. And where did you start? How did you, if someone's in that same situation right now, what would you say to them and where should they start?
Great question. So the first is I want people to get that I had all the success that we see that people go for. I had more money than I could spend. I was traveling the country. I was on TV. I had all the external things. So I had that success in my life already. And this is what I want to get people present to, is that the success that they already are, because they are the pearl. Here's the paradox. The pearl that they think they're looking for is already there in them, as them, because who they are being can be that pearl if they just turn around and look at themselves in a loving, gentle, and compassionate way. Now, transformational coaching is about looking at so the reason I stopped is usually people look for the answers in what the speaker's saying. So when I stop, I want people to either get present to what occurs to them when they expect someone else to give them the results in life.
I get you.
So mine is the re-remembering, keep people re-remembering who they are, so that when they go to the trainers and the coaches and the inspiring people, they are just guides to show them the way, but not to actually be the way for them.
Wow. Yeah, I get you. And that's so important. Right? It's so important that we understand that they're actually just guides, but they're role models, but they're not someone we should be copying, correct? Because we're all different. We're all unique in some way, shape, or form, right? And that's what you're saying here.
Yeah, because I studied with one of the world's master NLP trainers who, actually I've studied with a few of them, but one of them, I couldn't get to Tony Robbins, so I found the guy that trained Tony Robbins, and then I studied with the guy that said that this guy was masterful. And what he said, basically he said, modeling, you can never fully model a person because who they are being at any one time is unique to them. So here's what I want to say. You people that are listening out here, more so than me talking, is your understanding your own uniqueness. Because success to you is already what you're doing. What you need to look for is the things that you're already doing that are a success, and acknowledge yourself for doing them right now. Because who you're being when you're doing that is love, appreciation, acceptance, compassion.
So much gold there, Henare, and I love it. It's so true that you're saying that we try, and to bring it back to that metaphor, the oyster and the pearl, is that we already have the pearl, right? And it's just really sometimes would you say it's fair to say that we just have dusted it up, right? We need to be buffed up, right? So that we can actually then see it for ourselves for once, while everyone else in the world could actually see it. Would that be fair to say? You're
close to it. So here's what I'll tell you. In research, what they've found is that when you get a microphone and you put it next to the source of the microphone, the speaker, so it usually creates an oscillation of like vibrations, yang, 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 like that. So usually when we try to find a part of ourselves that wants to be changed, we usually can't see it. We can't see the pearl of it because it's oscillating at a close frequency, which is why we can't see it. So for an example, I think I did this one other time, is when I was on the phone to my mother, when she would tell me, Henare, you need to do this and that, I was a teenager and I'd be like, oh, whatever, Mum. What I would do is I would put the phone in a cup, which would create an oscillation between her voice and the voice in the cup. So she couldn't actually hear herself, and it created this Right. So what happens is a lot of the times in personal development, what we do is we go looking for change and changing a part of us, but usually the part that's wanting the change is the part that needs to change itself. So practically, imagine that the pearl is sellotaped or glued to the back of our neck, and let's do it even more intrinsic. Imagine that the pearl is underneath our shirt at the back of our neck, so nobody else can see it, and we can't see it, yet we know it's there, and we're looking around, and we're saying to people, there's a pearl in me, and everyone's going, well, we can't see it, but we know it's there. We know it's there because I think I've got one somewhere too. And what happens is, because we can't see that pearl, but we know that's there, we start trying to change the person that's looking for the pearl.
Right.
What happens? So what happens in personal development is this brings us to the precipice of our own growth, because then it starts helping us really question what we're searching for. Because we hear that the search isn't in the searching, it's in the finding.
Right.
So here's the context. I know you talked to Imran and Faisal about that. The only way to help somebody see their own pearl is not to actually tell them it's there, but to actually let them know that when they relax and sit down, the pearl will just appear or roll down their shoulder where they can see it.
Yeah.
The pearl inside a person can never be forcibly shown to them, but it can be beautifully shown to them in a way that they get it if there is a willingness to want to know themselves deeply.
Wow. And so I'm just thinking here, Henare, I'm still trying, it feels like I'm still trying to catch up to what you're saying, because it's so yeah.
I get it. So here's what happens. When I'm speaking, what I'm speaking to is the context of something unknown in you and the people.
Yeah.
Because if I speak to you and every word that you catch is a word that you've already experienced, then I'm telling you something you already know in some area.
Yeah, yeah.
But if I speak to you about words that I find hard to uncatch, then the pearl starts to loosen up and roll down the shoulder. Now, here's the tough part. Because the mindset is always looking for what it knows, that's not where transformation occurs. Mindset is looking for, and this is a tough one, so mindset is looking for the things that it doesn't know that it doesn't know.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
So there's two scientists, I'll put a real life context. There's two scientists in one book that's called Focus by Daniel Goleman. He says in it that the reason why we don't grow exponentially is we don't know that we don't know we don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, huh? That's like inception level, it just keeps going deeper and deeper.
Yeah, so let's bring it back to the context.
Yeah.
It's the hidden parts of our personality, the hidden parts that we push to the background that have the most power. So to change our mindset, how do we bring them forward? How do we bring that pearl forward so that we're whole and complete as a person? What happens is if we march off, like I marched off into the future, I'm going to be a basketballer. I'm going to do this. And I did that. I was very successful at that. But the thing was, I felt incomplete because there was only half of me or some parts of me that were doing that.
Yep.
So when I started to understand why I was doing that, I started to bring other parts of me to complete the whole circle of who I am.
Ah, right. Gotcha. Yeah.
So completeness and wholeness is recognizing all parts of us. So without being too offensive, there'll be parts of people out there that are wanting to show their best shiny polished image. But there'll also be parts of them inside where real mindset sits that are afraid and scared to show their vulnerabilities. So when we match up our shiny polished image, which is being created, and our vulnerabilities together, we start to create a connection inside of ourselves that's loving, connected, and more successful.
Yeah.
Because true success is about completing ourselves as human beings.
Henare, that was amazing, man. That just blew my mind. And there's this question that pops into my mind here, Henare, is that you're saying it's all about bringing the hidden personalities, the hidden traits within ourselves to the forefront so that we can actually see them for once, so that the pearls can actually reveal themselves, right? It's not just one, it's many. And then let me put it this way then, Henare, because if we're in personal development, we're working on ourselves, we already have these things that we think that we're looking for, at the forefront. And then if we go back and we unveil all these real traits and all these hidden personalities, does that then, do the ones that we had at the front also fall back to being hidden again, or do we actually bring them all up to the front? Then it's like laying down all the cards on the table.
Well, you brilliantly distinguished. Imagine that. Have you ever been to a theatre where people are performing on stage?
Yeah.
So on stage we have characters, like the number one character is the hero who shows his best sides. Then there's another character, the villain, that they have a hero and villain relationship. So those are the two main characters. But behind that are the people waiting to come on stage. And behind them are the people that are actually controlling the stage. Like you don't know who they are, but they're pulling up the pulleys.
Yep.
So what we want to do is exactly what you want to see. How do we get the people, the stage hands, the people that are in the background, to all move forward onto the stage so we have a full, complete picture of our personality? Because once they move forward, then we can recognize them and applaud them. Because what happens at the end of a play is that all the characters, all the stagehands come onto the play, and we applaud them for being the hero and the villain, for being the stagehand and the actor. So what I do is I find ways to bring forward all characters in your play, all the people that are on the plays of their life, so that they're starting to acknowledge all of who they are. Every single piece, because every single piece brings a whole completeness.
Yeah.
So there's a technology to this. There's one way to do it is, I usually get people to write out if they're at their death, or if, even, let's make it even a little bit less intrusive. Say if there was a room of 20 people and people got to write, and they were saying, and say for instance, they had to write something positive about you or me, I get them to write down, what are the positive things that you would want people to say about you?
Mm-hmm.
And so they write that down: happy, fun, exciting, successful. And then what I say to them is, when did you create that image? And they go, what image? What are you talking about? And I say, well, when do you do, because that's coming out of you, when was that created? And then they say, oh, well, I was about 12 years old, and this happened, and I created this image of being successful, powerful, free, loving. And I said, okay, when? And then we asked them, when did that image stop fully working for you? So then they go, what do you mean, when did it stop fully working for me? And I go, well, when did it stop fully working for you? Did it stop? And then they'll go, yeah, it stopped fully working for me about 26.
Uh-huh.
At 26, the image of a 13-year-old boy that made a decision that he was going to be strong, powerful, successful, amazing, famous, it stopped working at 26. And then I say to myself, then I say to them all themselves, well, who do we need to get in communication inside of you that brings that forth? And I say, the 13-year-old in me that made that decision when I was 13, because it was my mother. Like for me, my mother had an accident and she nearly died. So I thought I had to be the superhero, the Superman. And so I say, how do we need to go back to that 13-year-old and say to you, hey, you made the best decision that you did at that age? Like all of us, if I said to everyone listening, hey, all of you, you made the best decisions in your life that you made at all your ages. What would happen if we loved you for who you are and then made a complete new image as a 40-year-old man, as a 26-year-old man, as a 25-year-old woman, that would create a successful, whole, complete future, bringing back the 13-year-old and the 26-year-old together, so that they're both making a new future of new love and possibility. Successful inside first before successful outside.
Wow. I love that, Henare. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. That just blows my mind. And I don't know what you're doing here, man, but my mind just keeps, it's like fireworks keep going off, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing here. And I really don't know how to explain it, but it's just, I think I need to give it time to also like absorb all of these things that you're sharing here. And it sounds like, we need to merge the past with the present and then also to the future. And so then just the final question I want to bring on this point here is, Henare, then how often should we actually then reevaluate ourselves, whereby maybe we need to make sure that our dreams or where we want to take ourselves is in alignment with being complete, being whole?
Well, it comes at the point when you want to know yourself fully. So all in life, we come to a stage where we want to know who we are. And so when it comes to that stage of who are we, who am I, then we can go start looking for the parts that feel frightened, hidden. Because what happens is, I've talked to a lot of great leaders, and what I notice is that even though they've got success in the background, a lot of them don't feel like they're a success. And I had that too. I could externally tell people, hey, I was a success, but internally I didn't feel that success. So when the person is ready, it's allowing them to come whole, complete into themselves, so that no matter what happens, now this is the important part for business. If you bring this system of whole completeness in perfection into yourself as you're going through business, nothing that happens along the way will shake you off knowing that you're a whole, complete person. Whereas if you're very successful, what will happen is that front character, that personality, that positive image will keep on creating success on top of success on top of success until it gets to the point where it's exhausted, or it fails so bigly that it needs to come back to itself in wholeness. So a person usually has to be two things. They either have to be really curious to know the next steps, or they've got to be in some pain. Yeah. Financial pain, relationship pain, mindset pain, and those two other things that you talked about before, those types of pains. When they get to pain in those areas, or if they're curious in those areas, then it can exponentially bring a new set of results in their life. Because what I'm into is generating new futures that aren't existent in the past. Now, most of us, here's an example if you don't mind me saying.
Yep.
So most of us live into the future thinking that we're going into a new future, but a lot of the times, the past is represented in how we already know what we know.
Right, yep.
So when if I'm speaking to you, right, and I've given you every single word that you know that you've heard before or understood before, then we're actually, all those words are still words that you've experienced and that are going into a future that's already pre-written. So when you take those words and you separate them out and add new, exciting or unknown words into that mix, then it creates an opportunity to see past the words that you already know into a new wording system, which creates a new future of inspiration and passion, authenticity, integrity, and a new vision.
Wow.
So it's like being a child, because, between the age of 0 and 5, children don't know words, yet they learn faster by walking without being taught. They learn faster by learning language without being shown it, not in the in the linear form. So for me, how do we create a new future that generates new possibilities for us when we take the past and also add new futures in by generating new words that can not always be understood, but feel like, oh, there's something unknown coming for me.
Wow.
Because it's in the unknown and the uncertainty of life that we create new things. And the evidence is, in 5 years, we took our business from $0 and 0 people in a short amount of time, in 5 years, to New Zealand's top transformational leadership business. Because, why? We were constantly looking at what we were bringing from the past to the future and shifting it out to add new stuff in there.
Wow. That's just gotta just give it that space, right? Just gotta give it that space to settle in, and it's just it's so beautiful. It makes so much sense, Henare, right? It's all about focusing on not just the pre-written future, but opening ourselves up. And I love, and I see this in you, man, is that you get excited about uncertainty. You get excited about the unknown. And for a lot of people, they get scared. Even myself, sometimes I get scared of the uncertainty, of the unknown. How do you, Henare, get that excitement there, man? How do you move past to think, oh, it may turn out to the worst, to actually be, this is an opportunity to do something else?
Well, what I do is that when I go through a shift, I talk about the shift that I'm going through. So in personal development spirituality, if you look online, whenever you're seeing online, YouTube, Facebook, and everywhere, what happens is people don't talk about, you hear it a long time after about their shift.
Yeah.
So they never talk about their shift while they're shifting. So when they're shifting, what happens is we hear later on something happened in their life and we didn't even know that happened. So what I do is I talk about my shifts while they're happening. So what it does is it creates a way of authentically being human. So how I get enthusiastic is I talk to people about when I'm not enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And when I'm not doing the things. Because like the Buddha said, it's in our suffering that we can relate to other people. Now, here's the paradox. When the front runner of who we think we are is running the show, there's no way in hell he's going to let anybody know about his inauthenticities or where he's pretending or where she's avoiding. So when the front runner is running the show, which is usually a powerful front runner, you couldn't tell Tony Robbins that he was doing something that he shouldn't be doing. His front personality would be like, inspiration, I.
Yeah.
But as we know, we talked to Tony Robbins while he was doing relationship courses. He's been married, I think, once. He got divorced, and you would be thinking You think, well, what happened? Like, you're the relationship guru. You should be net together. A guy I interviewed on here, Chris Howard, who had 7,000 to 10,000 people on his seminars, same thing happened. Nobody knew that he was going through stuff. And when he did fall, what happened was everyone, all his people he lost. So what's different with me is I actually share when I'm not inspired.
Yeah.
So the front runner of who you see, right? So there's a person that loves to be inspired, but behind that there's the Henare as a little boy who's quite scared when he goes, and there's Henare as a teenager who's quite scared when I go through shifts. Because when I go through shifts, I can get really mean and nasty. Because that's the way I was brought up. The warrior New Zealand man is you fight your way out of any trap. So people around me usually typically get very cautious when I'm going through shifts because I can be like the Incredible Hulk.
That's the pinnacle of transformation, right?
Yeah. So transformation actually occurs through the evolution of being authentic about our inauthenticities. It occurs as being real about when we're not real. Like even as I'm speaking to the people out here and to you, I get a sense that like people want to grab onto, potentially they want to grab onto what they know. And the thing is what they know is a part of themselves that doesn't know about the unknown. So if they look inside and grab that part of themselves and caress it like they would their most darling, precious gem, pearl, then they would start to love the thing that's trying to grab outside of themselves.
Wow.
So I know I'm dropping this into a deep context. I think for you, I wanted to show and share with you people, like I've just come through a shift and I was lying on the floor the other day crying. I threw a couple of things because our business is going to the next level. It's going to be international. I'm coaching and mentoring some big name people. I got voted to be in the Transformational Leadership Council, which is one of the world's biggest transformational councils. So at that precipice, I can pretend to you that you're inspiring and I'm inspiring, and we can be the ones that really make a difference in the world with our mindset. But to be honest, 2 days ago, I'm lying on the floor, wriggling around like a little boy because little Henare inside me is like, can we do this? Can we influence billions of people? Can we do this? We never could even influence one person when we were a kid. And I'm like, darling, I'm going to wriggle around on the floor until we get present to our own power.
Yeah.
And then that little part of me wants to grab food and wants to grab woman and wants to grab all these things. And I tell it, come and grab onto me. Come and grab me. I love you. I want you to be with me inside me so that when we go to that next level, I am completely whole in knowing that you're part of who I am.
Boom, Henare, boom. That was massive. And I love it the most. And I love it the most because
I love you. Can I just jump in here?
Yes,
Richard,
go for it.
I'm going to jump in here. So Richard here is a man here's what I get from you, and here's my intuition. You're a man that is a wanting, a willingness to serve other people and be there for them. And what I want to say to you is in that wanting and willingness to serve other people, you are the most love. The success that you bring when you are of love to people generates possibilities for them unknown, unseen. So as a well-articulated man that speaks fluently with a cultural background that's very diverse, being Australian and whatever cultural background you have, what you're presenting to the world is a field of possibility in the area of love. Now, however you want to package that as business coach, is that what I get from you is that you just want to share the love to people, for people in a way that they can get themselves.
And guys, we're not even in the same room, and Henare can feel that across the internet. This is why you are the intuitive man, the real spiritual trainer, man. I really appreciate hearing that from you, Henare. Like, honestly, that means a lot to me. And that's why I got really excited when you were sharing about that. You have to be authentic about your inauthentic self, because that's where the real power is. That's where the real connection is. That's where the real love is. Right? When you see someone on the ground, on the floor, breaking down, just all over the place, but yet you still love them. Yet you still say, come here. I'm still here. I'm not running away. That's the real.
That's why on the part of this call, when you first started, when you actually said, hey, Henare, thank you for being here. I can't explain it, but I am thankful for you because I needed to know that people still are with me when I'm going through that.
Mm.
So when I nearly cried when I got on the call, because it was more of an appreciation of you recognizing me as a human being like everyone else. See, I don't want to ever get to a status above anybody else. I want to make people remember who they are. And I fail a lot.
Yeah.
But my successes are very big.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not as big as if I'm complete and whole, because you can't get anything outside that exists outside of you that's more important than in you or at the back of your neck ready to roll down your shoulder.
Oh, Henare, man, that is amazing, man. And so, Henare, man, it really hurts me to end this interview, but we got to start wrapping up to keep the show on time. And I think we got to start chatting again, man. We're probably going to do part 2 of this and probably even bring on Kate as well. But I know that's going to be like a 3-hour show. So we'll maybe do something else for that. But so, Henare, I'm going to wrap this show up and we're going to lead into some quick fire questions.
Go for it.
So there's this really special one that I always like to use and always like to ask. It's always the time travel moment, right? If you could go back to Henare, little Henare, right, yesterday or when you're on the floor and just give him one piece of advice that you now know that you want to share to him and just to let him know that everything will be okay, what would that be, man?
It would be, what is he wanting in this moment that I can give to him so that he's satisfied enough going into a new future?
Wow. Beautiful, man. Powerful questions, the man.
And you know what I hear?
Yeah.
Ice cream. I want an ice cream.
And hey, you are in Bali, man, so I understand because it's getting hot. Awesome. And so moving into the next one here, Henare, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received in your life so far, man?
Oh, the best piece of advice I've ever received in my life so far at this moment is when I get off this call, I need to go get an ice cream.
And the real advice behind that is to listen to yourself and to go out and go get what it is that you want. Would that be fair?
Yeah, that'll be fair.
Awesome, Henare. Awesome, man. So just a few more left, man. One question I want to ask you here, Henare, you've read a lot of books. You've interviewed so many authors, so many amazing people, right? If there's one book that people just listening or watching must read, what do you think it is?
I think the most practical is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield.
Awesome. We'll add that into the show notes, man. Awesome. And so just 2 questions left here, Henare. The first one is, Henare, I mean, a lot of people get confused, right? A lot of people aren't clear when it comes to identifying what is true purpose for them, to be on true purpose, right, in their life, in their time here. What do you define as being on your true purpose?
Well, it's just being alive. If you can accept in the moment that your aliveness is purpose, you're going to go do some amazing things.
Awesome.
You never go to you never go to a tree and ask what its purpose, or a dog. They just exist in the purpose of them being alive. So here's for everyone. Your true purpose is the acceptance of you being right here, right now. Whole and complete.
So good, Henare. And the last one here, man, to wrap up here is, Henare, if you had 30 seconds left to live, right, and you have your family there, your kids, your wife, your friends, everyone else who you've touched, impacted there, and you had 30 seconds left to live to share a message with them, what would it be, man?
I would rush down to the ice cream store and buy all the ice cream. No, I would zoom down to the ice cream store. I'd buy all the ice creams and I'd say, everyone eat this. I'd take my wife into the room and I'd have sex, the most beautiful sex that I could ever have. Then in the last, did you say 30 seconds?
Yeah, man.
So here's what I'd do. I wouldn't, because we've got the ice cream. It takes me about 5 seconds. So 5 to get the ice cream, another 5 to grab them all, so that's 15 seconds. Give them all out to everybody. Have, let's say, 10 seconds for a beautiful love making with my wife. In the last 5 seconds, I'd say to everybody, I'll see you next time.
Love it, Henare. Love it, man. It's such an honor and a huge pleasure to be chatting with you here, man. So, Henare, man, is there anything else that you like to leave with that we haven't gotten the chance to cover on this chat so far, man?
Cool. So I wanted to say to everyone, the conversation today that I've presented on this call is a conversation that you may be a little bit confused and confronted by, or might be a little bit outside your realm of thinking. When you get to that stage of outside your realm of thinking, you have a direct access into the parts of you that want to be heard inside. So my last part is, what is it that you can start to accept in yourself that wants to be heard when this weird guy starts throwing out confusing comments?
Wow, it's time for us to stop talking, time for us to start listening more to what it is. Beautiful, Henare, man. And so, Henare, where is the best place for people who have listened and just want to learn more about yourself and what you and Kate are doing? Where's the best place for them to find you guys?
Well, instead of I'm not used to talking, so the best place is to hear the listening, because I do a lot of interviews, is go to the www.gamechangerglobalsummit.com and go check out 113 interviews from real experts in the world, where you get to see a sense of inspiration from all these experts in personal development, spirituality, business. www.gamechangerglobalsummit.com. And I feel I'm going to put the TonyRobbins.com on the end.
But you made it your own way, and I know the New Zealanders, for those people who are listening, dub means www, just to make things clearer, right? So thank you so much, Henare.
Can I just bring it in?
Yeah, you bring your ice cream. You bring your ice cream, right?
Bring my ice cream. So just to bring it in, what our beautiful man here, Richard, he said, that is the strong part of him that I want to get into a relationship with. Is the strong part of him that we want to get into a relationship with, because it brings an authenticity to it when he's able to correct me on the call, and then we see parts of him that are strong and powerful. That's the end. He is a strong, powerful man.
Thank you so much, Henare. Thank you so much. And guys, for those of you watching, for those of you listening, remember to head on over to iTunes and rate this podcast so that we can share Henare's message, so we can share all the other messages from all the other amazing people on this show, so that we don't keep this as the world's best kept secret. I don't want that, and I'm sure Henare and everyone else we get on the show does not want that. So make sure you do that. And of course, guys, remember to head on over to richardfu.com for all the show notes, all the links. And of course, remember to go out there, go live with love, guys, and go smash it. And I'll see you again on the next one.